So the last time we were here, we have accomplished some things, and some things have been. We initially showed how to do these orange peels in one of the first little demo things here. So I did this one, but now we have them all done, and so that's a good thing. That's some progression. We did some initial layering in of some of these pieces here, and that was kind of cool. And then we did some secondary coats on top of these here as well. So we have the little white lines in between, the white lines between the sections themselves. Also, so we knew how to do that one. We knew how to set up the very first part of it. And so then I've done these ones here as well. And so I'm going to continue on and be able to do those throughout the parts of it. Here's one that I kind of started last time, but I don't think I highlighted it much, but doing the inner portions here, and that has some 3 parts to it as well. I think we could probably get away with doing some of that in here, so then you'll have information on just about everything except maybe these little darker values that are in these areas here. Well, those are just some darks. So let's experiment a little bit with maybe these pieces in here first, so that then you have kind of a how-to on all of the little parts of it, just to make sure on those. So here's the deal: the parts that are coming down off of here, off of these pieces, are white, and so this is a white area here. As I'm looking at this one, is probably our best example. So I'm going to use this as my sample. That they have the ends of the orange sections are white, and then there's some darker areas here, but there's a secondary value that's a little bit lighter that reaches up into here. Now remember, I'm not making this an exact copy of this painting or this photograph. I'm using the ideas and stuff for some of these parts, so I can make it look a little bit more realistic, probably more like this one here than the others. So with a little of that stuff there. So I'm going to use that as kind of my guide for making this part of it. So let's pop this down a little bit so we can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab my brush, and what am I going to need? I got to juice up the paints here. First off, I got to get some of these things in here. So what am I going to use? I'm put a little bit in the brown. We've been using yellows and oranges and reds primarily. I think that's probably going to be enough for us. I'm putting a little drop in the green too, just because. Okay, so our first thing we need to do is we need to establish where the whites are, because we're going to leave that. And so I think what I wanted to do with this one is for just a little bit of a lighter value that I want in there. I was going to use a light orange. And so I'm going to take a little bit of orange out of my tray, out of the thing, and I'm going to put it in the top of my tray so I can kind of see it. Oops, I got a little bit of black mixed in with that. We don't want that. So a little bit of an orangey, reddy sort of a thing on those. And so knowing that this part here is white, I'm just going to come right alongside that, and then I'm just going to pull that down kind of like that. And so the areas right in between are kind of coming down like this. So there's a tweener area here, and this is a tweener area. So this is just that light orange, right? This is kind of a tweener area. This is a tweener area. So you have all these little tweener areas kind of coming down. And then against this side here, as this comes down here, this piece here is just kind of, is mostly filled in. I'm just going to leave a little white around the edge, just because that's the way we can go. And so that's going to be the first coat of our mid sections here. And then this one probably has a little bit of a tweener area too. And so there's our light value for that inside. So we want, that's going to take care of this part here, these little parts here on our lighter values with those. And then we're going to let that dry. This is a two-phased application once again, as we start to look at that. Is we have a light coat, and then we're going to put some little bit of a darker part into it. And so that's where it is. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to go back in. Let's see. I'm just going to pick one of these. I need to do this with all of them, right? So let's just go over here to this guy. and this is just water, right? So while we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to do another example of the multiple values for the individual orange sections. And this is kind of formula, kind of a process, and we do every other one and go back and do it. And then so a little bit of yellow right here along the edge, right? Because we know that the area between the different sections is going to be light, and yellow is a light color. Kind of like that. That's kind of cool. And then we wanted to do just little streaks of maybe orange. Here's what I was going to do. I remember now. I wanted to do, as I'm doing this, maybe have different brushes. So this is my orange brush to put some strokes in there. And they can be broader. And then I have my yellow brush to put my yellow strokes in there too. That way I'm not bouncing back and forth between them. And it's just, that's really all we're doing, is we're just trying to put some of that stuff in there. I wanted that a little bit more yellowishy on the side here. Now I'm going to come back here on this one. Remember, going every other one will probably work out better for you. And like I said, there's a lot of these, and so it's kind of a deal. And so that was that. And then I got my orange brush here, and I just maybe put a little bit of orange in there, a little bit of orange in there, maybe some here. And it just can be random. Main thing is I want to make sure I have yellow around the edges. Okay, this one. And since it's coming right here along the edge, I want it to be a light value along the edge of the skin on the other orange section as well. That's going to be kind of important as we go along. And then I might get more aggressive with, oops, this is my orange color. Hold on, I got confused. That's a good thing right there. Okay. And let's skip down to this one. And so you can do this with all of your orange sections too. Sometimes when you have things that are very similar, it's just a repetition on doing those things. It's always good to get a little wet into wet, a little bit of variety in there, right? And switch my brush again so I can have a little orange in there. And this is wet into wet. Now I gotta wait because I got some section here. I have an odd section on that sort of thing. Is this dry yet? I think that's dry enough. And so now I can come back in here knowing that that is the part of it that's the light color. And I'm getting a little bit of brown in the top of the tray. That was a bit of brown. And maybe a little bit of orange. Too much brown. I'm going to take some of that out. Want it more orangish. And I think maybe even just a touch of red. There we go. And so with this part here, now that we're ready to do that part, this thing is going to, I'm just going to pick kind of a side to work on. And so I'm just using this side maybe not quite up as high as that, but So there's just a little bit of light on that side, and then we're going to leave the whites there. This is kind of, that was a little bit sharp for me, so I'm just kind of dab that in and around a little bit. So it's not quite as sharp. So now you got a white, you got a light, and you got a slightly darker value in there. And then my final, I'm just going to probably put a little bit of little bits of brown and stuff in there. That's probably a little darker than what I would like. So I'm just pulling out a little bit of the pigment, putting in a dry brush. The thing about painting, you can't jump values too quickly on things. If you do, it doesn't look right. So it needs to transition a little bit more. Kind of like that. So you can see the white to the light to the value here, and then the darker dark will be coming in just a minute on those. That's kind of cool. Let's see, what about this guy? So I'm just going to go down here while I'm waiting for that to dry. I'm trying to give the whole section of that that one piece, so we should see how to do the starburst on the inside of the orange while we're letting it dry. And so that's kind of a cool deal. And then we're just kind of picking up pieces and parts as we're trying to get these pieces going here. And then this is just some water going every other one, right? That's better. Oops. Middle sections. I think I'm getting just a little more aggressive with the yellow, not quite as light, which means I'm probably getting a little bit more aggressive with the orange too, if I follow my normal pattern. Well, that was kind of dull. If I say something, I'm not actually doing that. That's still a little bit more wet too. That's cool. This is just water. See there, I told you guys I was getting a little more aggressive. That was more aggressive, huh? That means I'm going to come back in here and maybe bulk up that orange. It is an orange and not a lemon, so you would guess that there'd probably be a little bit more residues of oranges in there, huh? Alright. Last one over here, and then I think I'm ready to put the final coat on the other. That didn't go all the way down. Neither did that one. And there's that one. And then we needed a little bit of orange. That's pretty cool. Okay, meanwhile, back at the ranch. Okay, so I think what I really want, I'm gonna use the same thing over here. Okay, now I established this is my lighter side is on the left, and my darker side is on the right. So let's see how this works. Just putting another little coat. This one barely goes up and in. This is actually the same, more or less the same value of mix that was in the top of the tray. And just up a little bit. I still need to be able to see those value changes as it comes down here. Okay. Maybe something like that. How's that grab you? So look at the good value changes we got in there. That's working out okay for us. All that's sitting there. This is just a little bit of brown. Just touching in a little bit of brown, so it's not just that harsh red. Just cleaning up this just a little bit with that darker value, just with the tip of the brush. I like that. What do you guys think? Cool, Mr. White. So that's the last little part, is trying to figure out that little inside portion. I think that'll work out okay for us doing something like that. Now from here, I've started into those, right? Obviously, then I can come back in and fill in the betweener strokes on those as well. We did do a little bit with the things on here. Now, the thing I was noticing, I was just looking at, some places you have a really orangey kind of an area, and others you have a lighter orange, you have a darker orange. You got to pay attention to that a little bit. But the interesting thing is here, on the dark orange, you see a little bit of the white areas to it. So this one here I have as a darker orange, and you're seeing the little bits in between. But over here I was noticing, saying, you know, it kind of looks like maybe there's some darker areas in between there too, as it transitions in here. That maybe the lines that you see here are more about the little teeny the dark marks on that one. So I was thinking and wondering, you know, hey, what's the deal with that? And so let's experiment on those. And let's say that this is a darker side over here with this. Let's see. No, we want to do the lighter side, because on this one we were kind of putting the darker parts in between. And so let's keep the same texture. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow, and we started to make these little things here. So initially, maybe what we'll do is have them a little bit of the dark thing. This is just more or less some yellow. Let's see how this works for us. on what it is I want to do. I wanted the shapes there initially is what I really wanted. I wanted the shapes. And so maybe just a lot with, since it's lighter, I can use water, maybe a little bit of yellow. Not maybe a touch of orange, because you know, hey, it is an orange. Like that. But I'm not going really dark on those. I'm just kind of, I'm just trying to divide it up so you can, it has different sections. I need a guide is what I need. And so by painting in these little sections, now I could leave them white and probably be okay and still read as this is the lighter part of the orange, right? Because I'm just using yellows as it's coming in there. Like that. And so that's going to establish things. And then what I can do, let's see if it's going to work for me here. I'd probably let that dry, and then I can come back in and paint in some of the darker sections. It's not dry, so that's not really going to work for me. Gotta let it dry on that one. So let's let that dry for just a minute with those. I think I'm gonna stop this video recording part of it while that's drying, because the video is just getting a little bit long.